Okay, let's dive in. Welcome to your custom deep dive. Today we're looking into the Astrology Amy Stair collection, and wow, it's given us two pieces that feel like, well, polar opposites almost. We've got this very practical astrological guide for the day, and then this really unsettling story that feels like its shadow.
That's a great way to put it. We have the astrology of the day for October 10th, 2025, giving us immediate sort of mental strategies. And then we're linking that to this fictional piece, the StoryScope, called The House That Listened. And it's more than just, a spooky story. It really feels like a manifestation of what happens when you chase the astrological truth theme too hard without any guardrails.
Exactly. And that's our goal here, right? To connect the dots between the star's advice on mental shifts for the day and this cautionary tale about Lena. She's seeking the truth about her brother's death, following the clues, just like the astrology suggests we should. But the truth she finds is way more dangerous and maybe much more personal than she ever expected. So we're giving you the blueprint, but also, the high-stakes warning that goes with it. So let's start with the immediate feel of the day. The moon's in Gemini on October 10th. What's the specific energy we're dealing with? What are the practical marching orders from the chart?
Okay, so the immediate energy is very Gemini, adaptive, curious, and really communicative above all else. Gemini, your rules, movement, communication, short trips, which is why the main guidance is so direct. Going with the flow gets us further than fighting the current. This isn't a day for pushing hard. It's really about mental nimbleness.
It sounds like the universe is sort of giving us permission for a mental catch-up day. Is that fair?
Precisely. Yeah, the source even calls it a necessary pause before the weekend's intensity. So it's a great day for processing things, catching up on emails or messages, organizing those messy mental files, or even just learning something new for fun. The key thing here, and this often gets missed, is that transformation today happens subtly. It's through talking, through small mental adjustments, not some big dramatic action you take.
But that Gemini curiosity, it can flip into restlessness pretty fast, can it? How do we handle that scattered feeling? Especially since the source explicitly warns about follow-through.
That's the crucial catch, absolutely. The downside of this airy Gemini energy is definitely shorter attention spans, getting easily distracted. You really have to set some limits for yourself. Otherwise, you could easily just get lost in, endless chats or scrolling or texting that doesn't actually accomplish anything. You may feel super inspired, lots of ideas flying around for brainstorming, but the source flat out warns there'll be zero patience for follow-through.
Ugh. The classic trap. Brilliant idea on a napkin, totally forgotten by lunchtime. So, if we are feeling scattered, or maybe if unexpected emotions bubble up because sometimes that mental churn does bring stuff to the surface, how does that adaptability piece help?
Right, the source does acknowledge that. It says unexpected emotions might come on strong out of the blue, which can feel a bit jarring when the focus is meant to be mental, detached, but they are manageable. The key, it says, is to stay adaptable to uncertain circumstances and plan your next steps. So, don't cling rigidly to your plan. See the emotional flare-up as just data. Adjust your course a little. Flexibility is really your shield today.
Okay, that makes sense. It gives us a clear game plan for the day itself. But that's just the surface weather, isn't it? Let's zoom out a bit to the deeper current that's driving the whole underlying theme for the next few weeks. That's the Mercury in Scorpio transit. It's the engine running from October 6th right through to the 29th, and it's all about this relentless quest for truth.
Exactly. If the moon in Gemini is like skimming the surface, Mercury diving into Scorpio is like plunging into the deep, dark ocean. Scorpio governs everything hidden, psychological transformation, secrets being unearthed. So when Mercury, the planet of communication intellect, enters Scorpio's domain, the directive is immediate and pretty intense. Seek truth, follow every single clue, go deeper than you might be comfortable with. The source says, for this period, everything can seem like a mystery just waiting to be unraveled.
Ah, okay. That explains why people might seem so impatient with anything superficial right now. If Mercury's digging deep, small talk just isn't going to land well.
Precisely. Social dynamics can get really polarized during this transit. People become incredibly impatient with anything they see as superficial or fake. And because we're leaning more on our instincts, our gut feelings, we're often more instinctive than rational. Which is why conversations under Mercury in Scorpio can be either incredibly profound and insightful or intensely dramatic and fraught.
And that's where the danger comes in, right? The potential for persuasion or even manipulation. If we're all busy reading between the lines, we also need to be careful about the lines we're writing, so to speak.
Absolutely. That heightened ability to read between the lines makes us super sensitive to hidden motives. But the source material explicitly warns us that this depth of language can be used either to be powerfully persuasive or to manipulate. That duality is crucial. We might become excellent detectives, sure, but we also gain the tools to be master manipulators ourselves, maybe without even meaning to, if we're just driven by that raw, deep need for truth.
Wow, okay. That sets up a huge potential for conflict then. If everyone's running on instinct and has zero patience for fakeness, keeping things civil sounds incredibly challenging. The advice we got is about setting boundaries. But how do you actually enforce a boundary when you're feeling highly instinctive and maybe the other person is just as driven to uncover some truth?
Yeah, the sources give some tough love on this. They anticipate that heightened emotional state. The advice is really designed to minimize the extra drama that Scorpio energy can stir up. We're told that a direct but respectful boundary will outlast a screaming match every time. And the core caution is pretty simple. Beware creating excess drama in situations that do not require it. Use the energy for psychological insight, not for, public showdowns.
That rule, respectful directness, feels like the very thin line between a healthy investigation and just destructive obsession. Which brings us perfectly, maybe terrifyingly, to the StoryScope, the house that listened. This story acts like the ultimate metaphor for what happens when that Mercury and Scorpio quest for truth goes completely off the rails with zero boundaries.
Yes, this is Lena's story. Her brother died 3 weeks prior, officially. Tragic accident, storm, fall, empty bottle nearby. Classic stuff. But her gut, that intense mercurial instinct we were just talking about, it just screamed that something is wrong, and that feeling got confirmed by his very last text message, which got cut off mid-sentence. I found it. It's not what we thought.
Yeah, that fragment alone is enough to ignite that obsessive need to know. And that quest leads her to Blackwood House. Through this incredibly creepy invitation, heavy old parchment, wax seal, the works commanding her to show up before the next new moon to know the truth.
Yeah.
The house itself basically becomes the embodiment of this intense transit.
And the environment immediately rejects anything rational. The house is described as sitting at the edge of woods where the fog never lifted. The air smells weird like old rain and metal. When she gets there, this tall man greets her, and he gives this warning that perfectly mirrors the risks we just discussed. Truth is a delicate thing. Sometimes it hides because it knows what happens when people find it.
Chilling. And then the house itself starts messing with her. It's not just haunted in a normal way. It actively undermines her sense of reality. The details are so specific, so unsettling.
They really are. And they seem carefully chosen to represent the instability when a search becomes obsessive. Like, there's a chandelier that ticks like a clock instead of swaying. Time is distorted. Books on the shelves whisper if she gets too close. Knowledge itself is corrupted. And the portraits, their eyes apparently look slightly to the left when she's not directly looking, like they're always watching, judging. She finds clues, sure notes in her brother's writing, newspaper clippings, a burned photo with his eye scratched out. The evidence seems plentiful, but it's completely unreliable.
Right. And this is where the story perfectly captures that manipulative potential of Mercury and Scorpio we talked about. The evidence literally changes right in front of her.
Exactly. The words themselves are unstable. She glances away, looks back, and the phrase she just read has fundamentally changed. The most chilling one is the note shifting from "he was killed," an external accusation, to "he killed," a self-accusation. And the notes are described as bleeding fresh ink, almost like they're alive, actively writing the story for her, adapting to her deepest fears in real time. The house isn't just hiding the truth, it's actively presenting whatever version of truth serves its own dark purpose.
So by the third night, she's not really searching for clues anymore. The house is basically having a direct, invasive conversation with her mind, answering her questions before she even asks them, through taps in the pipes, the sound of rain. And then comes that climax, that moment of ultimate, terrifying self-confrontation in the mirror.
Yeah, she finally just demands to know who the killer is, and the mirror is described as rippling like bark water. Her own reflection seems to detach from her, tilts its head, gives this faint smile, and whispers, "He sought the truth, just like you. The truth looked back." And that's the moment the whole external quest just collapses inwards. Lena has this horrifying realization. The truth wasn't something you uncovered, it was something that uncovered you.
God, that is the ultimate horror, isn't it? The thing you're hunting becomes the thing hunting you. What's the final warning she gets?
She finds her brother's last frantic letter. It warns her the house is done with him and has chosen you next. It says, "Leave now, don't look for me, the truth is alive." It listens. So she desperately tries to run, makes for the front door.
There's no door anymore. Just a reflection of one.
Just a faint, flickering reflection on the mirror's surface. And then her brother's voice whispers from somewhere deep inside the walls, "Come find me." And the source material ends with that absolute bone chiller, and the mirror opened its mouth.
Wow, okay. That's quite a conclusion. It really drives home the psychological intensity of a search that becomes possessive, relentless. So we started with the practical advice for today. Process information, communicate gently thanks to the moon in Gemini, and practice those respectful boundaries into Mercury and Scorpio.
Right. And this deep dive really shows us that the astrological push is indeed to seek truth, to go deeper. But the StoryScope is the stark illustration of the risk involved if you fail to manage that intensity. The danger for Lena wasn't necessarily the information itself, but the complete lack of boundaries that allowed the search to literally consume the searcher. We were told astrologically to read between the lines, but the story shows what happens when the lines start reading you back. That difference between an external investigation and an internal destructive reflection, that feels like the core lesson here.
And the specific technical advice we got from the astrology was crystal clear. Setting a direct but respectful boundary is vital for managing this transit's intensity.
Which brings us to the final provocative thought for you, the listener, to really consider as you navigate your own truth-seeking over the next few weeks. If the house, the mystery, the truth itself, if it feels personified, like it's alive and listening, maybe even like it has already chosen you in some way, how exactly do you set a respectful boundary against something that seems like it's actively trying to consume your mind?
Definitely something to think about. Use that mental agility from Gemini today to organize your thoughts, maybe set some intentions, because it sounds like you might have some serious questions to ponder as you start looking for those deeper clues in your own life.